And tonight we bring you a part of the exclusive interview with Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State on the issues of farmer herders clashes and insecurity in Nigeria. It's indeed very, very interesting, and it caught the attention of a lot of people a few days when you were in Daura in Katsina State. And the statement that you made about the movement of herders and cattle from the northern region of the country to the south. And you made a statement that it should be stopped, it should be banned. That was audacious, isn't it? I mean, knowing full well that you're a Fulani man yourself.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is important to know that I'm a Fulani man, so I'm not just talking from the blues. When I mention that, it's because of the increasing security challenges that we are facing in the country. First of all, let us start from history. The movement of cattle from one part of the country to the other is not something new, even from some neighboring countries. But because of climatic change, the herders from West Africa, let me start with foreign herders, because they are indigenous herders, they are foreign herders. Let us start with foreign herders. Foreign herders, because of climate change, they are moving into Nigeria with thousands of cattle. And the traditional cattle routes that we have been talking about, in those days, the cattle routes were enough because the population did not grow like now. Farming activities, because of population, was not like this. But there's a lot of encouragement, and not only encouragement, even the volume of cattle coming from West Africa to Nigeria has increased because of the grazing area, availability of grazing areas in the middle belt and in the southern part of this country. So this mass movement of cattle, there is no doubt, there is no amount of cattle routes that will be able to accommodate those foreign herders, herdsmen. And therefore, since they cannot carry their food, they have to wait in some places. They have to cut trees for their cow, for their cattle to eat. And these trees, some are economic trees. So of course, you cannot expect people to watch. People have to react. And because of that, they have learned to carry weapons in order to protect themselves. And some of them are using the opportunity even to carry illegal weapons, selling weapons in Nigeria. And some are taking the opportunity to commit various acts of criminality in the country. So how can we as a country allow mass movement of cattle into the country without knowing no data about them? There's always friction along the routes with farmers. So I think it's an issue that we should really find out. As I have been saying, it is an ECOWAS issue. But how do you expect somebody from West Africa coming into Nigeria, once he comes into Nigeria, he's regarded as a Nigerian? Because if he commits any criminality, it is a herdsman from Nigeria that is committing a crime. And in this modern economy, how do you expect somebody to be trekking with cows from northern part of this country to the middle belt, to the southern part of this country? Is it a kind of rearing the cows as a tradition or as an economic venture? I think it is more of a tradition. So you see, concerning the foreign herders that are coming into Nigeria with thousands of cattle is an issue that we should look into.
So, Governor, where we are having problem is with the foreign herders, so that Nigerians can get it clearly.
I'm coming. Is one of them. There's another problem.
Okay.
That is the foreign herders. Now, for our indigenous herdsmen, that is the nomads, they also trek from northern part of this country to the southern part, joining just like the foreign ones. But there's another category of herdsmen, those who settled in certain localities, because in those days, it was a kind of symbiotic relationship between the herdsmen and the farmers. The herdsmen, they settled in a place, the dung of their cattle used to serve as fertilizer to the farmers. So the farmers are even inviting them to come and settle for a whole season, and sometimes even to stay permanently. And some of them have been there for hundreds of years because it was a symbiotic relationship. But with the discovery of modern fertilizer, you find that the farmers do not rely on the dung of the cattle. They have fertilizer, while the herdsmen have not discovered any alternative way of feeding their cows, like the modern grazing of the type of grass that is being used now. So you find that the relationship between the herdsmen and the farmers is no more a symbiotic relationship, but a parasitic relationship. And that is creating a lot of problems. So what we are saying is that there should be a consensus. How can the herdsmen continue to stay in that environment, but they should be assisted to revert to a modern system of animal husbandry that will reduce them from encroaching people's farm, and that will reduce the problem.
Have you had some kind of conversation with President Buhari? Because I know this is something that you're very worried about, and I can relate with the decision you made in 2019 when a lot of your governor colleagues rejected the Ruga plan, and you embraced it. You're one of a few who did. Have you had any conversation with President Buhari?
Well, I didn't have any conversation one-to-one with him, but collectively, we discussed the issue of Ruga, and it was not rejected as such, but people misunderstood it. People, especially those in the southern part of this country, they thought it was an arrangement whereby people's land will be confiscated, will be given to the herdsmen, and the herdsmen will localize, will come and invade them, and there was a lot of suspicion and misunderstanding. But to me, I think whether you call it Ruga or you call it ranching, it's the same thing. The issue is that you stop the herdsmen from traveling from one place to another in order to avoid the conflict between farmers and herdsmen, that is on one side, and also to improve their mode of producing their cattle. That will definitely improve their economy. We here in Kano, we decided to embrace the Ruga system. If you want, you can call it Ruga. If you want, you can call it settling the herdsmen in one place in order to improve their production.
But how has that worked? You've practiced it for at least about 2 years now.
Yeah, we have started, but it takes a long time because of the financial problem. But equally the same, we have artificial insemination centers where we we sponsored 72 children of the herdsmen to the foreign country, to Turkey, to be precise. And they spent about 6 months there, and they learned artificial insemination, and they are now practicing artificial insemination. And all the children that we sent are children of the herdsmen, so that they are children who are used to, animal husbandry, and they are children that they know that is their own trade. So
are they back now?
They are back.
And they are practicing.
They are practicing.
Some has it been?
Of course, some are even in other states practicing artificial insemination with the cattle. So
it's working.
It's working, but it is still at an embryonic stage. You can see in the long run what we would like to achieve, even though it takes time, is to settle the Fulani so that we improve their quality of life. First of all, apart from improving the breeding system, there will be education for their children who can later become veterinary doctors. They can become engineers. They can become architects. They can join politics. They can be graduates. They can even be PhD holder. I'm a Fulani man. I used to follow cows to the riverside, bring them back. But because of education, now I'm a PhD holder, and now I'm a governor of Kano State. I learned Hausa when I was in primary school. So when people are shouting blah, blah, this, they don't even know really what it takes to be a herdsman.
Your native language is Fulfulde.
It's Fulfulde.
So you learned Hausa at some point.
Primary school.
So, but what of those who debate that the Fulanis are nomadic in nature, and that is the reason why they cannot stay in one place? They need to move around. Is the nature? Does that argument sit down with you?
No. You see, there are nomadic Fulani and there are settled Fulani. We are the settled Fulani, but to change from nomadism to settled Fulani is not a big deal. All what it requires is for you to settle in one place. Those who are, fighting what we are saying, I would like to see their children following cows from north to the south, trekking.
Well, we take a break, and when we return, more on the conversation, especially on the solution to this farmer-herders clash. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's a security aspect, again, that gets the attention of a lot of people. There's been a lot of inference drawn into the Fulani man and the killer herders, the bandits. It's painful, isn't it? Yeah. When these inferences are being drawn, and you hear people, the farming community, say the herders or the Fulanis are the ones who are harboring these killer herders, these criminals and the bandits. How do you react to that?
Well, it's not all jihadists that are criminals. Only very few of them. Only very few of them are criminals. But since they are also herders, then sometimes you find it very difficult to separate. But most importantly is the economic empowerment of the Fulanis, of the herdsmen. They need a system that will improve the animal husbandry that they are practicing. I think that is also an issue that people don't even talk about. We're only talking about the security, but we're not talking about their economic improvement of their life, which is also creating, security challenges.
But how do you separate the criminal Fulani herdsman from the non-criminals?
Well,
it's a painful isn't it?
If we have data, with technology, it's easier to do that. First of all, we make sure that all the herdsmen, like other Nigerians, are being forced to have national identification, which tells a lot of what they are. their picture, their everything. And also using technology with communication. Once you get some few criminals out of them, you can get a lot of information from there. You can get the people that they are communicating with. You see? But when business is as usual, how do we move forward? Now, those who are saying banning trekking with cattle from north to the south is affecting human rights, they have not told us a solution. Then what is the solution?
For you, Governor Ganduje, that is the solution.
Yeah, what is the solution? Because education here in Kano is free. Education is compulsory. From primary to secondary. Then how do you allow children to be following cows?
So do you arrest parents?
The whole issue of nomadic education has failed because education is not like that, where you can trap them in one place, teach them, and then they continue. So the teacher will continue following them. I don't think that is...
Do you arrest parents who do not send their children to school?
Yeah, we have started doing that now.
It's a criminal offense or a civil offense for a child not to be in school for the parents?
No, it's criminal. But you know, here is a commercial nerve center of the north. We are getting a lot of almajiris coming from other parts of the country, coming from some West African countries, even though we have been returning them, but some of them come back. So what we are advocating now is a law banning the movement of school-age children from one state to another. Unless if we do that, from all over the north, all over the country, then you can find that there will be more influx. If you provide some services, like now we have built these Almajiri schools. We are taking over 2,000 of the Almajiris. We provided them with accommodation, with feeding, with clothing, with medication, and with teachers. We have even improved the curriculum beyond the Almajiri system. So that one too is attracting Almajiris to come to Kano.
But are they staying in school? That's another thing.
Yes. If not because of this COVID, we will soon open the schools.
Okay, let me get your reaction to this, because this is a very touchy matter. I'm very sure you have heard about Sunday Adeyemo, popularly called Sunday Igboho, and his activity. How do you react to some of the development that you have heard and seen about the Fulanis in the Southwest?
Well, that is very, very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because it created a lot of problem. It's not all the herdsmen that are criminals. They should be able to identify the criminals and punish them accordingly. But what is important in that particular issue is dialogue. There should be dialogue with the Fulani, with the herdsmen communities. Let them reach an agreement on how they continue rearing their cattle without encroaching on the farmland.
But one of the arguments, Governor,
yes,
is that, and I've spoken with some of the leaders, like the Ariana Kankanfo, says the native Fulanis will not give them information about the criminal Fulanis. And that's the problem they have. So how easy will a dialogue be for those who are suspecting that there is a community of people who are killing their people and maiming their own people? How easy will a dialogue be in that scenario?
Well, if the security agencies are being able to apprehend some of the criminals, that is where they can get a lot of information. You see, it does not mean that they can continue maiming people and nobody is being arrested. If the security operatives are doing their job, definitely they will be able to arrest some of the bandits. And from there, they can find a lot of information.
So there's a failure of security?
Of course. It's also a failure of security. Also a failure of community policing. If there's community policing, they will be able to get information even from the Fulanis themselves. You see? So really, no community will accept, a settlement of Fulani that is committing crime on the population, and that community will fold their arms. Of course, there must be reaction. But as I have said, these herdsmen should also be assisted by government to see how they can rear their cattle without going from one place to another. It's possible through the central bank.
Governor, would you recommend the step, or how do you see or react to Sheikh Gumi, who met some of these bandits, and their recommendations that maybe they need to sit at a table with some of them? Do you think that there should be some kind of negotiation with some of these bandits?
Well, Zamfara has tried that. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it fails. But I think if you will have dialogue, it's important to have dialogue. But you do the dialogue scientifically, not just inviting people. You must do a lot of investigation, even among the criminals. You must get a lot of information. You must weigh all options. You must not provide them with an opportunity that they get information from government, they get money from government, and then they go and buy more arms and ammunition. You see, so dialogue is very, very important, but I think there's need to be a well-planned dialogue, and there must be a lot of information about the banditry and how they operate. And so that they cannot be prevented from taking advantage of the dialogue in order to improve their banditry in one way or another.
So just two brief questions as regarding this issue of the herders and the farmer relationship. And part of it is the suspicion, especially some ethnic stock in the country, believing that the Fulanis are maybe taking over their lands and subjugating or oppressing them. Have you had this kind of conversation or this kind of feelings? And how does they make you feel?
Well, we do hear that, and it boils down to criminality among the herdsmen. The few criminals among them, they make the relationship very, very difficult. So, you see, we need data. We need to know who are these herdsmen. We need to have their identity. We need to find out, the criminals among them. We need to get a lot of information from them, because it's a ripple effect. Once you get one herdsman who is a criminal, once he has national ID, where you can slot and find out more about him, where you can track his communication, then you can build from there, and then security will be in charge of them. But to allow few criminals to be causing havoc on communities,